course, we're going to be joined now by a sort of hero of mine, a man I like to view as a friend. We spoke so much when he was in Kabul running his Nowzad animal sanctuary. Since quitting the Marines, he was a Marine commando who served in Afghanistan. He sort of stayed there in order to protect and help animals there. And of course, if you remember, was involved in that dramatic evacuation, and he had to get his animals out, and there was all this kind of toing and froing between the Ministry of Defence about him getting a plane to get 170 poor defenceless animals onto a plane and out of Afghanistan, and for God's sake he did it, and I think most of those animals are now thriving back here, so all credit to him for that. Now, I didn't know he'd gone back to Kabul and has had now to get out of Kabul because of what Harry has said, because he said, you know, I killed 25 Taliban. Now, Pen is a former military man, now moved on to animal charity, so he's just the guy to talk to here about what Harry has said in that respect. So a very warm welcome to my friend Pen Farthing. Morning, Pen.
Good morning, Kevin. How you doing? You all right?
I'm all right. Now, you tweeted about this. Let's talk first, before we talk about Harry generally, about this military code. You've seen action. Now, military men and women who go into wars to serve their country, of course terrible things happen. Of course people are killed. To their eternal credit, the code is you don't come back, tell your wife, your kids and everyone in the pub about how many people you killed, particularly the precise number of people you killed. Your thoughts on Harry breaking that sacred code?
I think it's really disappointing. Yeah, the guys I served with, yes, you're correct. You know, we saw a lot of action in Nowzad in Helmand province. You know, sadly, 2 of my guys never came back from there. And when, you know, we meet up with the guys, you know, who did survive that tour, no one boasts about what we did. You just don't do it. It's just not something you go on to. You know, we'll talk about good times we had, you know, out in the pub somewhere else, but we don't talk about, you know, the stuff that we did in Afghanistan. And I feel it is a sort of a code. You know, you can look at any veteran from World War II. You never see any of those boasting about how many Germans they killed. It's the same, you know, the same principle. So yeah, I'm just really disappointed that he puts it in a book, you know, with a number as if it's, I guess, you know, it is for sales, isn't it? You know, it's to hype the book up, which is just incredibly sad.
And the ramifications of this are that he's put a target on a lot of people's back, including himself. He keeps going on about the safety of his family. He's very much compromised the safety of his family here. He's compromised the safety of our royal family here, and arguably everybody in Britain and probably many other people around the world. Now, you were back in Kabul doing your great work looking after the poor animals there, and you've had to get out of Kabul because of what Harry said. Again, your thoughts on that? I mean, what a thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of points there you just mentioned, you know, and one of them is the fact that, you know, I was led to believe that, you know, he's concerned about his security. So then he actually makes these, you know, revelations, which actually now worsens his security situation. And then also there is that knock-on effect for everybody else. I mean, the reason I had to leave Kabul is because my staff out there started telling me that, you know, what was appearing on the local social media. And it was a lot of anger towards what had been written. You know, and the bit for them was the fact that it was saying, you know, I don't see these people as human, you know, just as chess pieces. And that was really winding up, you know, a lot of local people. So me being the only Westerner there's no embassy support anymore in Kabul. There's nowhere to go for safety apart from get on a plane and get out of the country. So my staff were very concerned, you know, and they're the ones who said, look, you know, we totally think you need to get out of here just while this happens, if it's going to get worse, you know, and sadly with the way that the media is, it has just, you know, completely blown up now. So that's why I left Kabul.
Yeah, you're getting rather used to having to suddenly dramatically leave Kabul.
Thankfully, this wasn't as dramatic as the last time.
No, exactly right.
Go to the airport and get on a plane.
I mean, you bore the brunt of it, but we all kind of lived through that, didn't we? Talking
yes.
every day during that horrific evacuation. But you know the Taliban. Now, their response so far publicly has been mocking and contemptuous. You know, they said, oh, yeah, big guy who ran away, went back to his grandmother's palace and all that. Come on back, see how you get on and all that sort of thing, which is quite kind of amusing. But the Taliban is a sinister organisation. These people are international terrorists, and the possibilities, the potential danger that he's unleashed with this statement don't bear thinking about, does it?
No, not at all. I mean, and I don't want to sound like I'm trying to promote the Taliban whatsoever. You know, they are now the resident government in Afghanistan, whether we like that or not. You know, sadly, you know, the West, you know, left Afghanistan and this is what's now happened. So, but I don't think it's going to come from within the Taliban themselves, the ones who are actually there, who are now trying to govern Afghanistan. It's going to be, you know, some fanatical person who's, you know, maybe not even on a radar yet, who, you know, just takes this as a you know, deeply personal insult. You know, that's the type of person that's going to be upset and potentially a security threat to, you know, people like, you know, Prince Harry now with his family, or, you know, with other ex-serving soldiers, you know, who happen to be in the, you know, the Middle East or in Asia. So it's something that's, you know, incredibly worrying, because you just don't know where it's going to come from, but it's just riling people up, and there's no need for it.
And when that Taliban spokesman said, you know, these were not chess pieces, these were human beings, these were people with wives, children, families, loved ones. I mean, you know, Harry put us in the extraordinary position of actually sympathising with the Taliban. That guy was right. They're not chess pieces. They're human beings. And to go back to the military code, presumably, Pen, it doesn't matter, you know, just how reprehensible your enemy is. The Taliban is a reprehensible organisation. Let's not even go there. But when you're on the battlefield, you respect your enemy warriors, don't you?
I mean, you have to. If you go into any form of, you know, combat and you don't respect the person who's on the other side, you know, shooting back at you, then, you know, you've lost already. So you've got to respect. It doesn't matter who it is. And, you know, again, go back to like the Second World War. You know, you don't hear people, you know, dehumanizing, you know, just the ordinary German foot soldier. You know, they were just following orders. And, you know, now, you know, we've kind of, what's the word? You know, we've looked now over all the 70 years, the 80 years since, you know, Second World War, you know, and we've moved on, and people have moved on. We don't drag that back up in the way that this is being done. And to me, this is just putting a number on it and making those statements is just brought everything back again. You know, Afghanistan is finished. You know, that conflict for 20 years is over. You know, it's time to move on, whether we like it or not. And dragging this up just doesn't help anybody.
Just very quickly before we move on to your charity, Nowzad, apart from, you know, your response as a military man to what Harry has said about the Taliban, as a citizen of this country, as subject of His Majesty, what are you making of this Harry book and the explosive nature of it, all the revelations we've learned in it? I mean, important details, but like he was circumcised, that he lost his virginity behind a pub in a field, that he had frostbite of the todger when he went to his brother's wedding. What are you making of this?
I think I fully agree with your previous caller who said that, you know, I'm glad, you know, Her Majesty the Queen is not around to witness this, because I just think it's so, you know, undignified to, you know, yes, I understand, you know, if he had a story about himself, but not with the amount of details that's coming out. We just don't need to know that. It doesn't need to be made public. And it does, to me, just seem like it is for the money. I mean, the amount of money that's been paid for this book is just crazy money.
And you said said in your tweet, Pen, that you're always a royalist, a big fan of the royal family, but no more. I mean, in some ways, sorry to criticise you, but it's not really the rest of their fault, is it? But, you know, expand on that. Yeah,
I mean, you say it's not really the rest of their fault, but again, maybe this is, you know, something that, you know, the king, you know, his elder son, you know, they could have prevented a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, so everything they have done or not done, as the case may be, has led to this point, hasn't it? So for me, it's the whole sorry mess of it. It shouldn't be like this, you know.
Would you, Pen, like me, like the king to, you know, break this system that they always have, which is never complain, never explain. I would like the palace, I would like His Majesty to respond in some way, like the Queen did before to Meghan, you know, recollection, something diplomatic, recollections may vary, or something like that, just to say, look, we are not going to let you, Prince Harry and Meghan, trample all over us. Wouldn't you like the king to somehow stand up for the royal family?
I think it would be an amazing moment if he was to do that, you know, especially if just open arms, welcome Prince Harry back. And then it would be down to Prince Harry then, wouldn't it, whether he came back or not. He couldn't say that his family hadn't attempted, you know, reconciliation. So I think, you know, for us and the rest of the world, that would be, okay, yes, this is definitely a king, you know, who's fit to govern, because, you know, whatever's been written, he's like, well, come on back. Yeah. And I think that would make a big difference.
Okay, Pen. Let's move on to. I didn't realise you were back in Kabul. Respect. What's going on with Nowzad there and all the animals and your staff? Tell us, what's the latest?
So the staff we evacuated, they're now here in the UK, settling in. And as sadly, you know, we've seen with the ban on women working in Afghanistan at the moment, you know, I'm glad that our female staff were evacuated back then. We didn't know how the new government would, you know, take over, what they would allow, what they wouldn't allow. But thankfully for us, they actually gave us permission to restart our project. And so with the staff that did stay in Kabul, we wanted to give them, obviously, you know, employment. And so we were able to restart our operations. So, you know, as part of, you know, our audit process with the Charity Commission. So I travel out there to make sure that, you know, what we say we want done is being done, and the funds that we get from, you know, donations is actually being spent correctly. So that's why I was there in Kabul at this time.
You just reminded me. So tell us right now, listen, Pen does and Nowzad, they do amazing work. They got 170 animals out of the hell of Afghanistan during that evacuation a couple of years back. And as we've just heard from Pen, continue to do great work there. How can people donate and help you? What's the address internet-wise that we need there, Pen?
Well, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, it's www.nowzad.com, and all the donations that we receive either help our work out in Afghanistan or our animal welfare work in Ukraine. And it's vital, especially in this year, you know, we've got coming up with the cost of living crisis. Sadly, we're seeing a lot of people, you know, have to cancel their donations. You know, they need to now spend the money on themselves, you know, just to be able to keep warm or put food on the table. So, you know, we are getting to a point where we desperately do need further donations to be able to keep our animal welfare work going.
And of course, as you've just implied, you are doing great work in Ukraine as well. And, you know, animals are always the unspoken victims of war. And it's so fantastic that you and Nowzad do all this amazing work there, Pen. How are the 170 animals that you got out in that evacuation that we spent so much time talking about a couple of years back? How are they getting on back here in Britain?
That's brilliant. We've adopted most of them. I think we've got about 5 left at the moment. Sadly, that's just the older dogs that always are a struggle to rehome. But yeah, I mean, it was great this Christmas. You know, our inbox was just full of people who had adopted those dogs and cats, you know, sending us photos, you know, videos and updates of them just, you know.
So you've got 5 more dogs still to get. So get in touch with Nowzad if you want to give a home to an old animal that needs a home. Talk to Pen. Pen, it was great talking to you as always. Thank you so much for your time. Pen Farthing there, one of my heroes.